Good morning, Year 4. For those of you who did not manage to attend this morning's live maths lesson, these slides are for you. Please make sure you do read through and listen to them and make sure that your maths work is handed in, please. We're going to start by completing the mini maths challenge. Number 1, round this number to the nearest 10. And the number is 7,264. So we're either going to round this to 7,260 because we're either going to round it to 6 tens, or we're going to round it up to 7,270 and we're going to round it to 7 tens. In order to decide whether this needs to be rounded up or down, we need to look at the digit that's in the ones column. And here we can see it's a 4. And we know that if this digit is a 1, 2, 3 or 4, we round the number down, so it remains 6 tens. Or if the number is a 5, 6, 7, 8 or 9, we round it up so it becomes 7 tens. We can see that the digit is a 4, so 7,264 rounded to the nearest 10 is 7,260 because we rounded it down to 6 tens. Number 2, 7,654 subtract 1,231. I have used the column method to show my maths thinking, and now I'm going to talk through it. 4 ones subtract 1 ones equals 3 ones. 5 tens subtract 3 tens equals 2 tens. 600 subtract 200 equals 400. 7,000 subtract 1,000 equals 6,000. So I know 7,654 subtract 1,231 equals 6,423. Your third example is 2,340 divided by 10. Here you can see I have used a place value grid to represent my numbers, and in order to divide it by 10, I'm going to make it 10 times smaller, and to do that I move each of the digits one place to the right. In this example you can see that I have moved the 4 tens into the ones and it becomes 4 ones. The 300s moves one place to the right, it becomes 3 tens. And the 2000 moves one place to the right, it becomes 200. So 2,340 divided by 10 equals 234. Final maths quiz question. 9 twelfths subtract 4 twelfths equals. Now, I know that when I'm subtracting or adding two fractions together, that the denominator, which is the bottom number, will always stay the same because the size of the equal parts does not change when you combine the two fractions together. So I'm going to place that in now because I know I still have 12 equal parts. Then I'm going to look at the numerator. So 9 subtract 4, I know that 9 subtract 4 is 5. And 9 twelfths subtract 4 twelfths equals 5 twelfths. We're going to now move on to our representing, and I'm going to use facts that I know, and they're going to help me to show you what else I know. So let's have a look at what do you notice? What facts can you use to help you? In this example, I know that 3 multiplied by 2 equals 6. Now, I have made my 3 10 times greater. I've moved it one place to the left on my place value grid so that the 3 becomes 30. I know that 30 multiplied by 2 equals 60. And here you will see that my 6 has also got 10 times greater, and the 6 ones now becomes 6 tens. I'm going to make it 10 times greater again. So my 30 now becomes 300. My 3 tens have now become 3 hundreds. So I know that 300 multiplied by 2 equals 600. And as you will see here, each time I multiply by 10, my answer, what it equals, also gets 10 times greater. Now I'm going to go back to 3, but instead of multiplying it by 2, I'm going to make my 2 10 times greater. So the 2 ones becomes 2 tens. 3 multiplied by 2 tens, which is 20, equals 60. I'm now going to do that again. I'm going to keep the 3, I'm going to multiply it, but this time again I started with 2, made it 10 times greater, we went to 20. I'm now going to make 20 10 times greater, and you will see that the 2 tens now becomes 2 hundreds. So 3 multiplied by 200 equals 600. And if we look here, we have 3 multiplied by 20, which is 60, and again the equals, what it answers, is also 10 times greater. So the 6 tens becomes 6 hundreds. Here's another example, but in this example I've started with 4 times 2 equals 8 as my what I know. And you can see that I've used the same strategy of making the number 10 times greater. So 4, I've made it 10 times greater to 40, made it 10 times greater again, so the 4 tens becomes 4 hundreds. And you will see that each time I make it 10 times greater, for example here I have 8, my equals is also 10 times greater. And again, here I have multiplied by 2, then I've got 4, I multiplied it by 20, so the 2 is the number I've chosen to go 10 times greater, and you will see that 4 multiplied by 2 equals 80, then made my 24 times greater again, so I now have 200, and my 4 multiplied by 200 equals 80. And you can see that each time my equals is also 10 times greater. We're now going to look at a few more examples, and here we can see that we need to use what we know to work out what it should be. 4 multiplied by 2 equals 8. I've made my 4 10 times greater, so I know that 40 multiplied by 2 is 80. I've now made it greater again, so 400 multiplied by 2 is 800. And you will see, as mentioned, we have 8, 10 times greater, 80, 10 times greater, 800. We have 4 multiplied by 2, which is 80. We have 4 multiplied by 200. So my 2 tens is now 10 times greater, it's 200. So I know that my answer must also be 10 times greater. So my 8, which was in my tens, is now moved into my hundreds, and I now have 800. Going to have a quick look at the practicing as well. So, number 1, what other facts do you know? I'm going to start with fact I know. I know that 2 multiplied by 3 equals 6. I also know that I'm going to make it 10 times greater. 20 multiplied by 3 equals, and remember this should be a 10 times greater answer, which is 60. I'm going to go 10 times greater again, so my 20 becomes 200, and you will see that I started with 2 ones. The 2 ones then became 2 tens, the 2 tens then became 200 each time I made it 10 times greater. 200 multiplied by 3 equals, so I know I must have an answer which is 10 times greater than 60, so 200 multiplied by 3 equals 600. Now, I also know, and I'm going to go back to starting with 2, I know that 2 multiplied by 3 equals 6. So I also know that 2 multiplied here, I'm going to be multiplying the 3, so the 3 is going to get 10 times greater, and it's going to become 30. So I know that my answer, what it equals, must also be 10 times greater. So 2 multiplied by 30 equals 60. Finally, I also know that 2 multiplied by 300, as you can see, I've gone from 3, it's became 10 times greater, and 10 times greater again. So 2 multiplied by 300, and we must have an answer which is 10 times greater. So I know that 2 multiplied by 300, it gives me equals 600. And that's an example of the other facts that I know once I started with my first given fact. So today I would like you to log into Doodle Classroom and access your maths online work. Please can you start by completing your mini maths 4 quiz questions. When you have finished, complete the examples of the representing, and finally could you complete the practicing challenge as well, please. Thank you.